Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Marlene Arthur. I'm here to talk to you about how you can talk to little kids so that they would listen. And this discussion is going to be based on understanding and managing the feelings of a child. I'm just trying to fix my camera properly. And we can start. So, I read a book about talking to kids so that you can listen. And it was written by two doctors. And this is research based. So we are going to discuss how to talk to your child, little kids, that they can listen to you. A child's emotions are very, very important. Their emotions are more important to them, like an adult, the same way as emotions are important to us. So, the first thing an adult needs to learn when they become a parent is to learn to control their emotions, managing your emotions and your feelings. Else, you can't be able to manage the one of your child. So, to do justice to this discussion, I will take you through the different kinds of emotions. I want us to understand the different kinds of emotions. By remembering, so if after I've gone through the different kinds of emotions, I will take you parents also through just remembering when you were having those kind of emotions. And then we then relay it to the children and see if it's right for a child to have emotions or not, or the way you deal with your child. Is it the right way? You know, if you want your child to listen, the child needs to be feeling right or be in the right frame of mind to listen to whatever you're trying to communicate, or for the child to cooperate. So there are different kinds of feelings. There's a feeling of enjoyment. So enjoyment, I'm reading from the screen, is to be a positive emotion. And so the positive emotions that you have is pleasure, joy, happiness, amusement, pride. You are in awe of somebody, excitement, ecstasy. And there are times where every child is happy, and the way when they are happy, there's a way that they behave. Also, a child listens better when they are happy. Some might also not listen at all when they are enjoying what they're doing, and it's a type of emotion, and you should know how to deal with that emotion when you're communicating with your child. Then there is sadness. Sadness is low activation or low energy, negative emotion. That's how we describe sadness to be. We often feel in response like rejection. So when someone is sad, they feel lonely. It's described as unhappy, hopeless, or gloomy, or miserable. So, and then there's the feeling of fear, the emotion of fear. So there's also a high activation, or if somebody becomes anxious when they are afraid, or they try to avoid, they hide. So some of the words used when someone is afraid, or the words that comes under fear, is they become worried, they become nervous, they become anxious, they are scared, they panic, or they are stressed. That is another feeling. And then there's a feeling of anger. Anger is a high activation negative feeling. So we have positive feeling, we have negative feeling. So anger is one of the negative feelings where one becomes annoyed, frustrated, bitter, infuriated, mad, insulted, vengeful. That's a feeling that one expresses. It's an emotion as well. And then there's disgust. A child becomes angry, or someone becomes very, very nauseated, or aversion, offended, horrified. That is another kind of feeling. Then, so there is high energy positive emotions, and there is low energy emotions. So that comes under excited, delighted, astonished. There's also the low positive emotion is whether you're pleased or content or relaxed or calm. So there are two. There's high energy positive emotion, and there's low energy positive emotion. They are all expressed differently. And then we come to a low negative. So the low negative comes under anger, being afraid and alarmed. And then the high negative is depressed, bored, and tired. The high energy negative emotion is angry, afraid, and alarmed. And then the low negative energy is depressed, bored, like you don't want to do anything. So just to name a few, those are the kind of emotions that we have. So now that I've expressed those emotions, I know that I want you parents to bear with me. Oh, hello. There's one person watching who is Veronica Lomfa Amate. Thank you for watching. Please ask a question when you want to. I will appreciate an interaction. So let's continue. I said earlier, to do justice to this discussion, I would like to take you parents on a journey with me of when you had an emotion. How did you feel? Remembering, just try to remember some emotions that you've had before, some feelings that you have. How did you feel? How did you act when you were angry or sad or anxious, embarrassed, ashamed, envious, disappointed, or when you were bored? How did you cope with that feeling? Did you cope well with that feeling? I know some people get angry and they hit. Some get so angry and they throw things. They get angry, they display murmuring. Some also display displeasing gestures. Some scream and all that. Some people curse. You know what you do. All of you know what you do as adults or when you were kids, how you acted when you were angry or when you felt overwhelmed or you didn't understand something. You might have displayed some form of feeling. And sometimes when you are happy, you know how you react. And just imagine you are happy and someone tries to dim your happiness. Just put yourself in that emotion. I would like to ask you, were you able to shut down your feelings when you felt angry when someone said, oh, forget about it, calm down, sit down? When your children express emotions, you're talking to your child and the child is angry or is not doing whatever they're doing. How do you interact with the child? So being a parent, knowing how you act when you are not feeling right, just imagine that same thing with your child. Just put yourself in your child's position. Were you able to control the feeling that was overwhelming you at that time? Or were you able to shut it down? If you were able to shut that feeling down at that time, how did the feelings manifest? Sometimes you shut the feeling down and then you start ignoring, even though you've kept upright when you were angry, you start ignoring the person around you or the people around you, or you start doing so many stuff that you wouldn't normally do. You become distracted or impatient, or you isolate yourself from the people around you. So sometimes adults, sometimes you also you think, oh, if I need to behave right. And you also need a timeout. It's okay for an adult to need to take a timeout when they realize they can't control their emotion at a particular time. So when you think about these feelings that you had when you were angry, imagine your toddler in your position. So if you are interacting with your toddler, how then are you expecting your child to listen to you whilst they are experiencing that feeling? Let's think about this for a moment. Imagine yourself being upset and then expecting your... Hello, darling. You okay? Okay. Sorry about that. So imagine yourself, you expecting your child to behave themselves when they are experiencing that feeling. So your toddler will go through the same emotion that you go through when something happens. So it's important to learn to accept and cope and manage with your toddlers or your little ones' emotion. So, as I said, sorry, I was distracted a bit, so my mind went off the points I'm trying to relay. So let's say, imagine your toddler or a kid going through the same sort of feelings, yeah, an emotion, whilst you're trying to talk to them, whilst you're trying to instruct them, or whilst you're trying to let them do something. Imagine that. Do you think you can shut them down or calm them down by saying stop? Yes, it's a tough one for toddlers and little kids. They remember, you know how to control feelings. Kids don't know how to control feelings. This is why your child's emotions plays a major role in how you communicate with them and how they listen to you in communication. They can't control their emotions. You, the adult, have been through this several times and you understand the meaning of the emotions. They don't. They don't even know that emotion, or they don't even understand. Forgive me for the background noise. Did you hurt your knee? Sorry. Did you hurt your knee? Sorry, darling. So if you are an adult and you find it difficult to deal with these difficult feelings, how then do you expect your child to do the same? The difference is, as I said, you understand these feelings. Or do you think your children don't understand feelings? Yes, stop wouldn't be enough. So Veronica says, stop wouldn't be enough. even with an adult, emotions are sometimes not easy to control. That's the fact. So as I'm discussing with you right now, just imagine that your child is throwing a tantrum and is expressing so many emotions, and you are trying to shut them down by saying, stop, don't do it, or that. It's not going anywhere. You are rather aggravating the feeling. If you think children don't have feelings, then you have to think again. Ouch. Hey, darling, what's wrong? Is your knee hurting? Sorry, Jaden. Okay? You okay? Yeah, my son trying to get my attention whilst I'm doing this. I'm sorry about that. So, in communication, you need to create an environment of effective communication to achieve the fact that when you tell your child to stop, they will stop. Because you've created an environment where his feelings are understood, the feelings are communicated, and the feelings are dealt with. So first, you have to understand the feeling. During this communication, I will take you through the steps in which we can resolve this. So one thing is a child's feelings, a child's I will. A child's feelings affects his attention and interaction. So let's put yourself in a child's age and try to, maybe a child is angry. There's no way you're going to get a child's attention when they are angry. It will depend on the right sort of words and communication and acknowledgement for you to really get them in the communication or interaction that you want at that particular time. A child's feelings affects his attention and interaction. There's no shortcut. The stop is a shortcut. No. How many times have parents, like, you are distracted and instead of communicating properly, you just scream, stop! Don't do this, don't do that. And you try saying things out of the way, without actually having the necessary communication that you need to have. It's funny that Jaden is trying to get my attention whilst I'm trying to do this discussion. Hello. Oh, sorry, darling. Sorry about that. Okay, he always disrupts me when he comes around. Okay. So as I was saying, there's no shortcut in getting a cooperative child. Kids cannot behave right if they are not feeling right. If they are upset, they are never going to cooperate with you in whatever you want them to do. If you don't take care of their feelings first, you have no chance in engaging and cooperating. Yes, please. Okay, bring the drink. So you have no chance in cooperating with your child if you don't take care of that particular feeling that is making the child misbehave in the way that they are misbehaving. So most of the time we see a child's behavior when they are being disruptive or interacting, we term it as a negative feeling. I express the different kinds of feelings that a child that there are, and then when they administer it to you, when they express it, we always say we shut the negative feeling down. We don't want to engage with it. We don't want to interact or even talk about it. Meanwhile, it's important to engage with the feeling and then know how to go forward from there. So there are certain tools of handling emotions when when you want to communicate with a child. So the first one is you acknowledge the feeling. You acknowledge the feeling with the words. One of the things that is vital in the education system in the UK, if you've observed, they teach the children about the different kinds of feelings. They even do emojis, these emojis that we use to communicate on the phone. They teach the children in schools. I am angry, sad, happy, anxious. The reason why these are taught to them is to enable them communicate their feelings effectively. Okay, so when you acknowledge the feeling that the child has, then you would also think about how to deal with the situation. You acknowledge the feeling and then you go through the steps of reasoning the what, when, why something is happening. So what is going on? What is upsetting the child? Why is the child not listening to me? Why? Sorry about that. Why is my child not listening to me? So you're looking forward. Let's say you communicate with the child and say, oh, for example, oh, you're looking forward to a play date. And then let's say your child has a play date and the person doesn't turn up. For sure, the child will be angry or will be upset. Any negative feeling is expected. So you communicate with the child. You acknowledging the feeling means you come down to their level. That's right. That's what any Akons is saying. You come down to their level. So you engage in a communication. Oh, your friend couldn't show up. That must be frustrating. That's so annoying. So when you express that with a child, you actually share the feeling with a child. And the right words they say is coming down to their level where they are in that emotion. Okay, you've come down understanding the emotion. So you also acknowledge the feeling by mentioning the word, like, oh, you are upset. Are you angry? Are you sad? Are you happy? So whatever feeling that is going on, you need to express it, because remember, you are also teaching the child to be able to identify what they are feeling at that particular moment. So that's how you do it. Then you can also express it with the arts, what it means. So, oh, that's sad. Then you do the expressive face of sadness. Remember, it's not every child that speaks, especially children on the spectrum who are non-verbal, or any child who is non-verbal. You need to do that expression when you are communicating feeling to them so they understand it. Even children, even if they are not on the spectrum, you still have to do the sign so that when they see someone is interacting with them and the person frowns, they understand the person is angry. They understand that the person is happy. They understand that the person is anxious. The person is scared and everything. We do this when we are communicating with our kids without realizing it. But we do it from afar. We do it from authority. We don't come down to the level, as Amy Akon said, to communicate that with the child, because you are teaching that. Remember, you are teaching the toddler or the little one how to understand and express feelings. One, you're teaching understanding, expression, and then dealing. The third thing is also dealing with that. And then when you come to that level and you get there and you understand it, that is when you can take the child out from that position to a better place of understanding. So you give one example is, let's say, I'm trying to look for an example for you. So it says, you say, oh, you seem so sad. You can draw it on the paper and with a crayon or a pencil. Or you are so angry, and expressing it also, some do it in a form of signs. Oh, you seem so angry. Then maybe, oh, you scramble a paper like that, oh, to the child, and the child learns that when people are upset, this is what they do to do that. So sometimes when communicating this as well, you can also give it in fantasy. You give in fantasy what you can give in reality. So when a child is like asking for something, oh mom, I want this and that, and you can't provide it at that particular time, you say, oh, I'm sorry, I wish I could buy you 1,000,000 balloons. If your child wanted a balloon and at that time you couldn't afford to get the child a balloon, you say, oh, I'm sorry, I wish I could get you 1,000,000 balloons, but next time I will get you some balloons and we'll play with it. And you create a scene where you put the child's imagination and expectation up. You put the child's imagination and expectation up so that they can easily move away from that position of anger as well. And sometimes just listening to your child whilst they are upset in that emotion and being in that emotion with them. Sometimes you don't even need to talk. You just stare them in the face, try to ask them more questions to get more information why they are feeling the way they are feeling. And then that's when you can have ideas to also take them out in that feeling. And you in this way, you let the child know that all feelings can be accepted. Okay, all feelings are things that happen, they are normal, that these feelings happen. And then you also find substitutes. If a child tells you, I hate my brother, when they say hate, so you ask the child, why do you hate your brother? Why is that? And then when the child tells you, you can suggest to the child that, look, it's not that you hate your brother, you don't like what he did to you, and that makes you angry. So that helps the child to differentiate between the feelings that they are expressing to verbally to what they are actually feeling, because they can't really hate their brother. It's just that particular moment, whatever happened there, make them have a feeling of anger, which they think means hate, which you want to let them understand. So, Jada, later I'll give you bread and butter. Okay? Do you want hot buns instead? Okay, bring it. Bring the butter and I'll get it for you. So that is how you engage with your child. So to deal with this, you can be playful in that communication because you want your child to listen. You don't become the authoritarian. So after you've brought the child to your level, explained the emotion, you've gone through all that process, you become playful. You can create something and let the child laugh. You can make a game. You can make objects, and you have to have time to engage in that emotion because you are creating, it's a process that you're going through, and that process demands work, and you have to be intentional about it because there's an end game here where you want to talk, that when a child does something and you talk, the child would understand the reason why you are saying no, maybe later, let's do this another day, or whatever you are suggesting. The child knows that you've taken their feelings into consideration. You have adequately communicated his feeling and don't have any problems going forward. So you remember the end game here in that solutioning that you are planning with your child.
Don't cry.
Hello, Jaden. Just a minute. Give me a few seconds here. Jaden has suddenly become demanding whilst I'm doing this. Demanding stuff unnecessarily. Do you want... Is that all? Is that all? Yeah? Do you want jam or just this one?
No.
Okay. All right. Please. All right. All right. So I'm back. Sorry about that. So you have to be playful in resolving that kind of communication. So whilst in solutioning, making your child listen to you, there are tools for engagement, and which is playing with your child, which I've spoken about already. And then you offer choices. You offer choices when this interaction happens. When your child is not listening to you, you offer choices. For example, Jaden just asked me for bread and butter. The bread and butter meant I'll have to stop and do it for him. So I offered him hot dog buns, which he would just have to take out. But he said no, he wanted the bread and butter. So it's not every time that you will say no. You offer options for the child. It's also building trust in the child as well. And then what even works more is when you put the child also in charge of decisions. You give them choices. When you give them choices, it makes them feel that they also have a say in whatever they are requesting for, or in the conversation, or in everything. And then another thing is when you say no, most parents say, no, you're not having it. It is also vital. Another point is to give information. Give information to the child as to why you were saying no, or as to why you were postponing something, or as to why something that they are expecting would not happen. You explain to the child, they would understand. If they don't understand, go on to make the efforts in making them understanding the situation. So sometimes, let's say, for example, a child might be angry about something and might not be even aware of the reason why they are angry. Okay, they don't know why they are angry about whatever, but they are expressing so many emotions, and they will appreciate it if you are able to pinpoint the reason why they are angry. And I can only give an adult example. Let's say you are expecting a friend to call you about something, and you've been waiting. You've made an arrangement, and this person hasn't called you, and for days you haven't heard anything. So you happen to meet this person somewhere, and then the person doesn't even acknowledge that miss of communication, that appointment. And for some reason, you needed that information or that conversation so much that some, as we talk about emotions, if you're being honest, your displeasure, some people keep quiet, some people ignore, some people act different ways. So when you meet the person and the person will be like, what's going on? And what's going, oh, it's nothing. I'm just surprised that you didn't call me. But you are angry. So sometimes you don't even know how you feel, and you express the different emotion or try to hide the actual emotion that is going on within you. So sometimes children might be like the one I said, I hate my brother. It's not because they hate, but it's because they are angry at that particular moment. And it's important to also allow the child to express how I feel. I think I've explained that already. Mm-hmm. And so when these emotions happen and you try to resolve or engage with the child as well, ensure that you do it without insulting the child or saying negative things about the child, or allowing your anger to take over. Sometimes these children can really push your buttons. They can pin you against the wall, and you you don't know what to do. And if you're not careful, the things that will come out of your mouth, you would just regret it. So one of the things that they've research has spoken about projecting anger as an adult is not to say you have been very naughty or you have been this or that, but rather you say, I am very sad or upset that this and this is happening. Because the more you say, I am angry, or you have done this or that you are projecting negativity onto the child. So, and the child would also be more cautious about the fact that the parent is expressing their emotion than you pointing them as being in wrong. Okay, so it's also a form of teaching the child how to express anger. So whatever that is going on with your child, and you want to resolve the anger that the child is expressing, kicking, hitting, crying, you're talking to them, they are not listening to you, and your communication, you would have to express your displeasure strongly. You express it strongly that I am not happy about this. I'm not happy at all. you express it strongly, and the child is also learning. Strongly doesn't mean screaming, strongly doesn't mean shouting or anything, but let the child know. Remember, we spoke about the facial expression, the actions, and all that, but do it remembering the age of your child, of the child. And I'm sure you also know how your child reacts to situations as well whilst you're doing this. So you have to also bear that in mind. So when a child, it's important also to show your child how to make amends. So if you asked your child to do something and they refuse to do it, and you've gone through a process of communicating all this emotion with them, you also have to teach them amending. Amending is getting back on the right track. Remember, emotions make you feel unwell or unhappy. So amending that conflict that the child has at that moment, you have to learn how to get back on the track that you want to. That might be through, as I've already said those points, through communication, by offering a choice, by giving examples of the feeling. Sometimes you can give a feeling if they are siblings fighting and you are resolving the fight. You can give an example with yourself. I remember when I was young and this happened, and then you express that to the child. And they would learn that they are not the only ones feeling that way, and you have to learn to deal with those feelings as well. So sometimes your child would want something from you and you are not willing to offer it. They will want you to buy something for them or need something. Meanwhile, they have a similar thing at home. So you offer an option of saying, oh, maybe we can create one at home. Maybe we could do another one at home. So you are offering the child an option to whatever they need to whatever they need. So these are the few points that I have shared. I think I haven't gone through the whole, except that I'm more focused on us acknowledging. Sorry. So it's more important to acknowledge the feeling, come down into the child's level and understand the feeling. There's a saying that when you don't know what is right, try doing it to yourself to see how it feels. So all that I'm saying is for you to be able to have an effective communication, for your child to listen to you when you are communicating, for your child to be attentive to you, first think about the reason why they are being what they are acting the way they are acting. Why are they listening? What's happened? What's actually going on? You think about that. Whatever feeling they are manifesting, try and get that feeling out. Sometimes you can see why they are doing that. If you have two siblings and one gets a toy, the funny thing about toddlers and babies is when one has a toy and the other wants the toy, they then tend to fight them. Or sometimes when the toy is there, they will never play with it. But as soon as their brother goes to pick the toy, they rush there, and then it becomes a conflict, and you have to resolve this conflict. And that might be a feeling or an emotion of jealousy you know, because maybe the toy doesn't belong to them, and they know that when they pick it up, you will say, oh, share, oh, this, oh, that. You need to find that expressive time and have that discussion with your child and make them understand why they don't need to do that. And then they also know that you've observed that behavior and you are dealing with it in the right way. So to go over my points again, your child has feelings like you. So bear in mind when you're dealing with them, understand the feeling and emotion and try to walk them through. In walking them through, you acknowledge the feeling, going down to their level, acknowledging down. They might be ashamed, they might be frustrated, they might, and you, the parents, will also have to go there. Sometimes we don't have time to go there. That's why we say stop, oh, keep quiet, and we shut them down. That in the long term does not help the child or you in any way. You are looking for a long-term communication building, solutioning in your relationship with the child. So you have to go through it. So we have to make it a habit of remembering that you are nurturing a child. You are bringing up somebody that you want to have an easy conversation with. Because these things, starting from this age, would grow, would in turn be the hallmark of the kind of relationship you will have with your child. Them finding it easy to talk to you, them finding it easy to express themselves to you, and even outside the home. It prevents bullying, it prevents so many things because the child is emotionally aware. You know, they can walk away from things when it's not necessary because each day in and out, whilst you interact with them and you go through the process of acknowledging these feelings and dealing with them in the process, in the 5 points that I gave you. I don't think I numbered them, but in going through them that way, you will actually be able to come into a consensus with your child. I hope this discussion has been helpful. If anybody has a question, they can please ask. I'm sorry the video has been a bit interruptive because Jaden has been interrupting me and he chose the wrong time to come and interrupt me in my talk. So I kept going back and forth on the same subject. But I hope the pointers have been helpful to you and you practice them. I know in most African cultures, we don't entertain a child's emotion. It is normally shut down, it is cut off. The child actually has no right. They are supposed to listen to what they are being told instead of a parent engaging or understanding why a child is behaving the way they are behaving. The solutioning in this is when you understand why the child is behaving that way, you would be able to resolve whatever issue correctly. So it's something that we need to learn. And I hope these few pointers can help you resolve it. I don't know if I have to go back to the points of how to resolve it again. I hope you all got it right. Let me know in the comment sections if you want me to go back on anything. But I think this is a book that I want to share the altar. Jaden, I hope to share the altar of the. Bring it, please. Yeah. I want to share the altar of the book that I've just picked some things up with you. It's called How to Talk So Your Little Kids Will Listen. It's by Joanna Faber and Julie King. So you can have a look at that book and read it. It's a long book, but there's an audio one you can listen to. But it's very interesting how it's done. And you just imagine, it helps you understand and it helps you learn how to communicate with your child effectively. And it's amazing how those things help. The book helps. There are so many books on parenting. I would suggest you read a lot of them because they do help. They do help you in decision making in how to interact with your child. Most of the time you have to practice them, experiment them. Some might not work because some kids think differently and the children change all the time. So it will depend on your household and how you can approach it. Oh, so Oni, you've read it. It's a beautiful book. I think it's helped me a lot in my communication, especially with parents with children on the spectrum. If your child has just been diagnosed with a learning disorder, especially with communication and all that, it's very important it's good if you get that book and read it. It will help you to communicate, to reconsider your form of communication. It's mainly about how you communicate with your child. It gives example. They gives scenarios as to why, how to talk. Like they give examples as to situations and how to approach them, and you put yourself in your child's position. Most parents don't think children, you have to put yourself in your child's position. You have to. Excuse me. It does wonders. And it grows, it helps you understand people in different ways, and it helps you in communication as well. That book doesn't only help kids, it helps adults. It helps you think about when you're talking to somebody, how to manage your emotions and how to also consider that person's emotions as well. So let's learn to consider our kids' emotions when we are communicating with them and help them to become the adults that are loving, understanding in the community that they are in. Thank you for watching. Annie, thank you for staying with me to this time. I cannot see who is on Facebook at the moment, but I appreciate all of you. Please do put in your comments. I'll come back and also communicate other aspects of the book, and we can create a discussion about it, how our cultures, our different cultures, and this form of upbringing conflicts with what we've been brought up with. And the tricky part is adjusting to that. The most tricky part of these books and these theories and all these experiments is if you are from a different upbringing, the will to adjust is the most difficult part. But when you try it, it works. It works because that's how the kids are interacted with at school. So it makes it easier for them. They don't fight with you because they are experiencing they are experiencing that kind of communication at school or at any other play group or other places that they go to. They experience it there as well. So thank you. My time is up, and I will speak to you again soon. Thank you for your patience. Bye.